For remaining 80% of current affairs video and general studies complete videos, please subscribe to our complete package. 3. Artificial glaciers help Ladakh tackle effects of climate change. This topic will be important under General Studies Paper 3. Global warming, climate change. Why recently in news? The snowfall has come down significantly in the last couple of decades and the glacier is melting at a higher rate, putting the lives of farmers at risk. The global nations continue negotiations to arrive at a consensus for a global agreement to tackle climate change ahead of the Conference of Parties, COP21, summit in Paris. But nowhere are the effects more visible than the mountainous region of Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir. Climate change is changing the landscape of Ladakh. When areas in and around Leh began to experience water shortages, life didn't grind to a halt. Why? Because Chuang Norful, a retired civil engineer in the Jammu and Kashmir government, came up with the idea of artificial glaciers. What are artificial glaciers? The artificial glacier is an intricate network of channels and structures built on the upper slope of a valley by diverting water from the main river of the glacier melt. Then they will be freezed in winter into cascades, which melt in summer in time for the sowing season. Himalayan solution of artificial glaciations. An artificial glacier is constructed below the natural glaciers and above the village reaches. The one closer to the village and lowest in altitude melts first, providing water during April, May, the crucial sowing season. Further layers of ice placed above melt with increasing temperature with the summer, thus ensuring continuous supply to the fields. Thus farmers have been able to manage 2 crops instead of 1. Basic steps followed in creating the artificial glacier. River or stream water at higher altitude is diverted to a shaded area of the hill, facing north, where the winter sun is blocked by a ridge or a mountain range. At the start of winter, November, the diverted water is made to flow onto sloping hill face through distribution channels. Stone embankments are built at regular intervals which impede the flow of water, making shallow pools and freeze, forming a cascade of ice along the slope. Ice formation continues for 3-4 months, resulting in a large accumulation of ice which is referred to as an artificial glacier. How climate change is affecting the weather pattern, that is much visible along Himalayas than anywhere else. The excessive glacier melt is resulting in floods, putting the lives of 80% of farmers in the region at risk, as glaciers are the primary source of water. This has affected agriculture in Leh and affected crop patterns. Climate change has also altered weather patterns, causing unseasonal rains and increasing the risk of avalanches. The effects of climate change are also very much evident on the Siachen Glacier, that is the starting point of the glacier at the base camp has receded by about a kilometer since 2005. Is there any ongoing research on climate change in Ladakh region? There is no scientific data to indicate the extent of climate change in this region. The Snow and Avalanche Study Establishment, SASE, an institute under the Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO, has recently initiated Himparivartan, a project to assess the extent of the glacier melt. Officials at SASE said that under this project 4 sites have been identified on the glacier based on the data of the last 20 years and will be monitored over the next 2 years to understand the climate change on the glacier. 4. A vaccine boost to India's polio fight. This topic will be important under General Studies Paper 3. Health Science, Infectious Diseases and Their Eradication. Why recently in news? After nearly 5 polio-free years, on November 30th, India is going to launch a national immunization program that is inactivated polio vaccine, IPV, injection, so that India is aiming for an endgame of polio. The injectable vaccine, which uses killed polioviruses, will be used alongside the oral polio vaccine, OPV. For now, immunization using IPV will be restricted to Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. In the first quarter of 2016, it will be expanded to the other northern and northeastern states, and in the second quarter, will encompass the 4 southern states and Maharashtra. Immunization using IPV injection is in a reverse order, with the well-performing states getting it last. What is polio? It is an acute, viral, infectious disease spread from person to person, primarily via the fecal oral route. Poliovirus only infects humans. What is poliovirus? Poliovirus, the causative agent of poliomyelitis, is a human enterovirus. Poliovirus is composed of an RNA genome and a protein capsid. The genome is a single-stranded positive sense RNA genome. How wild poliovirus differs from vaccine poliovirus. Natural polioviruses are called wild to distinguish them from vaccine polioviruses that constitute oral polio vaccine, OPV. Vaccine viruses are attenuated from wild viruses, which means they have lost most of their virulence, the ability to cause paralysis and the ability to spread fast among children. These two are the dreaded qualities of wild polioviruses. What is the need for India to introduce inactivated polio vaccine IPV although having oral polio vaccine OPV? OPV has an inherent safety issue in rare cases. Live viruses used in a weakened form can turn virulent, spread within communities and cause polio in unprotected children. In 2011, such a scenario caused 7 vaccine-derived poliovirus (VDPV) cases in India. IPV aims to prevent vaccine-caused polio cases, where viruses used in OPV cause flaccid paralysis. India imports inactivated polio vaccine injections at a cost of $2 per dose. Since wild polioviruses are the raw material for IPV, no Indian manufacturer is allowed to make IPV in India. How poliovirus are classified? There are 3 known types of polioviruses, called 1, 2, and 3, each causing a different strain of the disease. Type 1 is the cause of epidemics and many cases of paralysis, which is the most severe manifestation of the infection. All 3 strains of the poliovirus are used in OPV. Of these, Type 2 is responsible for more than 95% of VDPV cases. Ironically, Type 2 wild poliovirus had been eradicated since 1999. Since then, all Type 2 cases have been caused solely by vaccine polioviruses. How the inactivated polio vaccine is administered now. To begin with, 1 dose of IPV will be administered along with the 3rd dose of OPV and DPT to children who are 14 weeks old. Even after being immunized with IPV, it is essential that all children are immunized with OPV every time it is offered. IPV when used in combination with OPV can quickly boost immunity against poliovirus and offer double protection. One dose of IPV will prime the immune system and the immune response will be quicker whenever OPV or IPV is given subsequently. Why children with 14 months old and above are chosen for IPV? There is a scientific reason for choosing 14 weeks for IPV immunization. When IPV is given to children at 14 weeks and later, nearly 70% of them will develop antibodies against polioviruses. It will be around 30% if given to children younger than 14 weeks. A switch from trivalent to bivalent vaccine. India will make a switch from a trivalent, containing all three virus strains, to a bivalent, containing only two strains, on April 24, 2016. There are a risk when this switch is made that is vaccine-derived type 2 will spread silently and cannot be stopped and children will continue to shed type 2 strain for 4-6 weeks after the last OPV dose. A new crop of children who do not get the trivalent oral polio vaccine can get exposed to the type 2 strain shed by vaccinated children. It is to minimize this that the Global Polio Eradication Initiative requires all countries using the 3 strain to introduce at least one dose of the injectable vaccine before making the switch. Since the injectable vaccine contains all 3 strains in a kill form, it cannot cause vaccine-derived poliovirus.